Hi, it's Carolina from Always Expect More, and today we're going to work on a very traditional block and one of my favorites, the log cabin. Ready? Let's get started. For our log cabin block, we're going to need 2-inch strips and one 3.5-inch square. The log cabin is one of my favorite quilt blocks because it was the first quilt block that I ever made when I started quilting. You need 3 strips of traditionally dark fabrics and 3 strips of traditionally light fabrics. For this block, because my quilt was all in blues and aquas, I chose 3 blue fabrics and 3 aqua fabrics. For your center, you either want a fabric that pulls to both sides, so for me it would be towards the aqua and towards the blue, or if you're doing a very traditional log cabin, you'll want a red for the center. Red centers are super traditional in log cabins because the red stood for the fire, which was the hearth or the heart of the home. We're going to start our log cabin by putting one of our light strips, or in this case my aqua strips, against our center and stitching with a 1/4-inch seam. Some people, when making a log cabin block, prefer to cut every single piece exactly to size before stitching it on, using templates or ruler measurements. This way is much faster, and as long as you don't stretch your fabrics, it's still super accurate. Stitch your piece on and trim off your excess. You can trim it now or after you've pressed. Press your seam towards the outside. Now we're going to add on another row. At this point, you have a teeny decision to make. You can decide if you're going to stitch your rows on this side or if you're going to stitch your rows on this side. It really doesn't make that big of a difference, just whether or not you're spiraling around clockwise or counterclockwise. I'm going to go ahead and stitch it in this direction. This tends to be easier because when you stitch down, you'll reach this and you can make sure that your seam stays flat as you stitch right over it. This time I'm going to show you cutting after we press. Press towards the strip. Use your ruler, and you can use the markings on your ruler to line up with your seams to keep your block square, and then cut. Rotate and cut again. We're going to repeat this process, now adding a blue strip. If you see, we've started here and gone here, so our next strip is going to start on this side. Same process, laying it down, stitching with a 1/4-inch seam. Stitching on the first light blue, we can press that one, then it'll look like this, and we can trim these pieces off. And we keep going, adding our second aqua, then our second blue, then we'll follow with our third aqua and our final blue. So here we have with our final aqua, and we just need to add our final blue. So you can see we've been spiraling in this direction, so our next strip goes right here. Keep pressing towards that outside. Line up your ruler and trim. Now we're ready to add our final strip. Trim and press, and we'll have our quilt block complete. That wasn't so hard, was it? Be sure to follow us for more quilting updates. Leave any questions or comments below, and thanks for watching.